Bonjour à tous, merci pour venir. Je pense que nous allons faire un anglais parce que partager les choses. Parce que nous pouvons avoir un public majeur. Donc, welcome Benedetta. Thanks for coming. I'm very glad for having you here today as my first guest for Talking Heads series. And thank you all for coming. So I'm going to make a small introduction of Benedetta, and then we will have her lecture, and then we will have a small conversation and turn of questions. No? So I think that our guest today is one of these persons who need a little introduction. No? Benedetta Tagliablue, she's an Italian architect, former partner of Enrique Miralles, and principal at the Barcelona and Shanghai-based EMBT Architects, one of the most important architectural offices in the world. She graduated from the University of Venice in 1989, and in 1991, after having completed a postgraduate at Columbia University in New York, she moved to Barcelona, where she joined Miralles Studio, and she became a partner in 1994, founding the acclaimed and celebrated architectural office EMBT Architects. Today, the office works transversally in the fields of architecture, design of public spaces, interior and product design, trying to keep alive the spirit of the Spanish and Italian tradition of artisan and craftsmanship architecture. Her philosophy pays a lot of attention to, as we will see today, to context, craftsmanship, and to detail. Among her most notable projects, to name just a few, we can name the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh, the Utrecht Town Hall, the Santa Caterina Market in Barcelona, the Diagonal Mar Park in Barcelona, or the Spanish Pavilion for the 2010 Shanghai World Expo, which was recognized with the 2011 Steel Viva Prize for the Best International. So among the many distinctions she has received, I would like to highlight just a few: the River Stephen Prize in 2001 for the Scottish Parliament, the River Prize in 2001 for the Utrecht Town Hall, the Honorary Award of the American Society of Landscape Architects for the Diagonal Mar Park in 2005, and fundamentally the 2013 Viva Charles James Award, which recognizes the entire career of architects who have made a major contribution to the practice and theory of architecture in the world. She is very well accompanied in this club, because other people who have been distinguished with this award include Zaha Hadid in 2006, Frank Koolhaas in 2012, or our Swiss colleagues, Herzog and Miller in 2015. Benedetta Tagliablue has always been committed to giving back to society, especially in the teaching field, where she has made a lasting impact in different generations of students. She has been visiting professor at Harvard University, Columbia University in New York, at Barcelona School of Architecture, and she is also a permanent member of the jury for the Pritzker Prize for Architecture. So, not permanent. So.
Everybody gets it before you.
Well, so this is an impressive part of the presentation. But today we will also be talking about interior spaces, about how interior spaces become laboratories of modernity. At H&M, we are committed to defining the present and the future of the practice of interior architecture, and the case of Benedetta Tagliablue is very relevant in this sense. When she moved to Barcelona in the beginning of the 90s, Enrique Miralles was already well known. He had already made a name for himself in architecture. But in a way, Benedetta transformed the trajectory of Miralles, and I think that the experience of interior spaces played a key role in this transformation, in this professional trajectory. Together they moved to a house in Calle Mercaders, which we will be seeing today, and somehow the house became a laboratory of experimentation of architectural spaces that would be later realized, materialized at larger scales in projects such as the Town Hall of Utrecht or the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh. Today, Benedetta Tagliablue, EMBT Architects, have ongoing projects in Business School of Fudan University in Shanghai, the office towers in in Taiwan, Taichung, but also like a metro station in Paris, for example, the central station in Naples, or the public spaces of housing city. I think that in a way, all these projects, even though the scales vary and have very different size, they all share or pay a debt to the interior spaces she lives and works in the Gothic district of the city of Barcelona. So thanks a lot for coming, Benedetta, and please feel welcome.
Wonderful presentation and very attentive. And today I brought you yeah. They told me this works. Does it work? Yeah. Should it be okay. So today's presentation is a little the result of our relationship. Let's say you did a fantastic thesis on investigation on the Utrecht town hall, and it's really important for us also because we are people who are producing, and then while producing, we are not really kind of archiving in a very nice way. We would like to, but then we use material, we forget some others, so we get this kind of chaotic archives. And for example, your investigation in Utrecht was so clarifying, and now it's really fantastic because now the Utrecht people came to us after 11 years of the construction and of the opening, and they say, oh, we want to renovate. They forgot about who Senor Miralles was. They forgot about what he wanted to do. They forgot about the original project, and when luckily someone told them, well, go back to the office, maybe they will give you some lines. Then they rediscovered things, and your thesis was so important.
Well, thank you. That's not.
No, it's still very important. And also your presentation is really fantastic. So in this sense, today I came here thinking about this archive work that Javier has been done in Utrecht, and he was telling me, why don't you explain how your house in Barcelona, in the city, old city of Barcelona, was influential in the Utrecht City Hall. So we did something, and we entered in our archive, and what I couldn't do was to put together all many of the materials we found, but I couldn't do, let's say, the editing of that. So today you're looking at kind of raw material of what I found in kind of disorder, in the hard disk, in the cupboards, in the various archives we have in our office, talking about the house, talking about the city hall, and about other projects. So I thought, okay, we have maybe 600 slides here. We will go like in a film. Sometimes we will stop, sometimes we will go very fast. And what you're looking at now is more or less what we have found in the old city of Barcelona in 1992, when nobody was thinking in Barcelona about the old city. They were thinking the old city was something a little to forget, something not very nice. And this house was abandoned. In a way, we were so lucky to be able to buy it. And the person who was selling it was saying, "Oh, I'm so ashamed. You can destroy it if you want." So this was a feeling, in a way. No? This was a feeling. And Eric Miralles and myself, we were kind of two young architects, kind of looking for something very special, something that has a very beautiful space. And we decided, okay, we need a kind of an old house, because to make a new family, we need a very big space. And in this very big space, we will do our experiments. But we were not very clear. What we were saying was, okay, we will never publish this house, because this house we do it directly. You know, now I was listening to Javier explaining, and everything was kind of very formal, very joining a company and putting up Actually, we were two people who loved each other, and we wanted to make a common project, and we loved to do beautiful things. We loved architecture. We just started like this in a very simple way, and we loved this part of the city. This part of the city was absolutely incredible, fantastic, and forgotten. So it was really like a miracle. You know, you find a place which is a jewel and nobody's looking at it. So it was a really very, very special feeling. So this is the only drawing we have of it, because actually we did a little, as Eric was saying, that Gaudi was doing his projects directly. We were working on the house directly. We had that piece of architecture, and we were looking at it and acting on it directly. And this small drawing was designed afterwards when someone asked us to publish the house. So now I'm showing you many of the images of the house, like a little film, so that you can be with me in this kind of little tour. So you will enter from the door, a very secret door. We maintained this old wooden door, and the only intervention was this very little bell, which was like a Venetian one. No name, but the number and the principal. Principal means in Barcelona the noble floor. So we had this very cryptic rebus as we enter of the house, which makes entering it a kind of a secret. I still believe that thieves will not easily come in our house, because first of all, they will not understand how to move in it, and second of all, they will never know what to rob, because there is nothing very precious or nothing which is really very visibly special. No? The house itself is a little like this. So you will have here images of the house in different moments, when the house was still kind of broken, or it was more repaired. This door was a kind of an invention. Let's say we get this possibility of making the light coming in. It's a big space, but being on the kind of the noble floor, it's a little obscure for what we would like to have in a kind of a contemporary taste. You know, we love sound, but maybe in the old generations, even in Spain, they were afraid about sound. We were kind of escaping it. So we were introducing glass and wooden glass door whenever we could do that. And inside you have this first room as a kind of a place for this piece of furniture, which was done exactly together with the house. Let's say in that moment we had a kind of an offer from a gallery. I think it was Le Magasin. Was it in Genève? In Grenoble. No, in Grenoble. Le Magasin offered us to make an exhibition, and they were saying, okay, you can put a piece of furniture of your choice, and it should be a piece of furniture which represents you. And then we asked, and where the piece of furniture goes afterwards? They said, well, we are sorry, we don't have a place to store it, so we have to throw it away. Say, okay, we will keep it back, we will take it for us. And then we designed something which was exactly fitting the first room of this house. And Eric gave a very, very big importance to this piece of architecture, piece of furniture. He was considering it a kind of a house in itself, a kind of a little world. It was a piece of furniture movable. It was a table. Tables were so important to him, and you will see in the house we have more tables than any other type of furniture. And it was a table which was transforming. It was becoming something like a piano, something like a vertical thing, or a very flat thing. So it could be very, very different. Actually, it's a very complicated piece. And this year we had a wonderful architect, Milan Radic, who decided to reproduce it in the other side of the world, in Chile. And he did a wonderful work of digitalizing everything, even the small pieces. So I'm very grateful to him, and I hope now this could be maybe reproduced for some other places. So this in the plan, in this very cryptic map that we did of the house, you see the entry door is here. We have drawn all the pavimentation, and the central piece is this big table, which takes exactly the dimension of the room. It's the maximum dimension you could put for a table in it, without being unable afterwards to move around. Then there was a beautiful room which was giving to a garden, and we decided that this beautiful room with a garden, with the view outside, but exactly at the entry would be our bedroom. And then we did this kind of strange drawing, which became our bathroom. And the bathroom is actually expanding here in a piece of the drawing that I didn't include, which was a kind of I don't know, a place where people were storing wood, and it was becoming a kind of a special piece of bathroom. Let's say this is a bathroom, and then you go in the garden and you have this kind of pavilion in the garden, which is the place where you can take a shower, you can have a bath, you can have a special feeling of having your morning wash. So we found many things in the house, and they were totally unexpected because the house was a storage, and when we found it, it was full of little animals, and it was totally white. So we thought we would paint it white and that's it. But when we started to touch the walls were starting to explain the history of all the generations which were before us. So, for example, in the bathroom we found that, and we started to think, what do we do with what we found? No? Because everything is very destroyed. Everything is extremely beautiful. It's telling a story, but can we live together with this story as it is? So we invented this idea of the stripes. We said we would like not to forget, but at the same time we would like to be in a house which is sort of clean. So maybe doing stripes, we have this possibility to have the clean part and the history. The clean part and the history. And this was becoming a kind of a decision. And this decision was applied in different ways all over the house. Also in the piece of furniture here, you see that we were applying this kind of stripes. And then Rick, who was a kind of investigator, he was kind of trying to understand what the stripes mean. Stripes sometimes is used for people who go to jail, and it's used many times to indicate something that you don't have to lose from your side. So maybe stripes have a special significance also in the aesthetic. And this house became the house of stripes, which for us was the way to live together with history. Then we had other rooms which were looking at this incredible garden. The garden is, we are at the noble level, so it means that we are more than 5 meters on top of the street. And you go there, you go outside, and you find high trees, you find a very big garden in front of you, and which was really this kind of Barcelona desire of, in the past, of having a nature or a kind of a private paradise in a place which was so difficult. The old city of Barcelona was very, very, very dense. And then for someone who could buy a big house and at the same time could fulfill the space with earth, then he could have this great luxury of having like a small paradise in front of their windows. And this happens in Barcelona. This is something which is very special, very beautiful. Most of the time, these old gardens were destroyed because, of course, it's space. It's space occupied by the earth. But in this case, this arrived to us directly, and so we could have these big trees, big fig trees, and other palm trees growing on the special garden. And then we have this kind of going back to the image of the plan. We have this invention, which we consider the greatest invention he had ever done. No? He said, "Oh, I don't know if I'm a good architect, but this library is the best thing I've ever invented." So it's so simple. It's a library done with just very little pieces of iron, and the pieces of iron could be put in the wall directly, or could be hung on a mastile, on a pile, and only there is a small inclination, and this inclination permits a kind of putting something on top. I don't have the drawings here, but it's a very nice and very intelligent invention, which puts two pieces of on an inclined tube, and then one tube is under, one tube is on top, and then the level is maintained again. So the idea of that was to create a kind of a labyrinth in the house. No? We were doing this kind of labyrinth going all over, so that you could put the books, and you see there is a lot of space from book to book, and you had kind of islands. You know? The idea was that you were going in secret places and reading, and our idea was also to have little lamps hanging on the library, so that you could really have special hidden places. And then the big space was because this was actually a very bourgeois house in the past, but it was used recently as a storage. The old city was abandoned. This meant that the place was very, very, very cheap, and this storage left, like in New York for the loft, let's say, left very big open spaces, and we thought that this was very, very fantastic. But we had this still this remains of all the rooms on the floor, because the rooms in Barcelona are done with these tiles, with these concrete tiles, and you could read perfectly well the many different rooms which were destroyed to let the space totally open. So we thought that we would bring back these tiles and recreate sorts of rooms, but the rooms would follow the line of the light coming from the window. So we did this other kind of invention. And then the upper floor was a floor which was with not very much light. So we emptied the big floor. This was done actually quite after, and we had this great height inside the house. I thought at the beginning that this would be kind of strange, because when you think, you say, can I live in a house with 8 meters height? Well, in a way, you don't really notice, no? And you feel very, very well. There's still this feeling of being in a house, and you have this luxury of air on top of your head. So this was one of the choices we did. But at the beginning, we didn't do it. You have to imagine that we had this kind of, you see, here there are a lot of poles keeping the house up. We lived together with works many, many years. I think all the time, because we started making the house only a little bit inhabitable. You see, we use these pieces of wood and we put it on the wall. Then we change the position. We make the double height. Then we found beneath a wall, we found some Gothic arches, and we decided to maintain them, but also together with these white stripes. And we started to put our things, like in the old storage we had found here in the house. And little pieces of furniture were created in the time. When we were needing something, we were doing that, and the house, little by little, started to become from kind of empty to very full. So this is an angel we have found at the very beginning, behind the wall. It was very, very special. Can you imagine you go in your old house and you say, oh, what's that? There is a wall. Let's put something underneath the wall. Seems that there is something. And a big archery comes out and a big capital in the shape of an angel. So I thought I will never be able to live here. But in fact, we put television underneath and there is no problem. You can live very well with all these things. It's not a monument. So this is very nice, no? Not to have a monument. I think this was very much also our effort in trying to use this house, to use it in a kind of a natural way. This house that you're looking at is all painted, but we didn't know that it would be so painted. It was a white room, and of course nowadays we have a sort of painting which needs a clean wall. But in the past this was not happening. They were just painting on top of each other, and you didn't need any clean wall. So what happens is that when you start to clean, you find all the layers of all the other people who had been living in the house, and this room had the characteristic that one of the layers was wallpaper, very thick wallpaper. So underneath the wallpaper, everything appeared, not totally destroyed as in the rest of the house, and you get this kind of piece of a certain age appearing directly. And we discovered afterwards that all the generations were kind of repainting. For example, maybe they were thinking, oh, this was belonging to our father, it was very important, so they were doing another painting on top of the other, on top of the other. So the people who came to fix the painting, they told us, actually, you have something like 7 or 8 other paintings underneath that. Would you like to do something? We said, no. Otherwise you cannot live. Okay, leave it like this with all the defects, and we just accept it. So we had our main table. I told you that tables are so important in this house, and Eric could work in the house, could work in the studio. Actually, he was always working, and I was working with him sometimes. So sometimes I was protesting because I wanted more weekends, but it wasn't possible. Our weekends were always about creating new projects, creating new drawings, and things like that. So some of the images are done by different photographers. I'm sure Enrique would hate this photographer. These were the photographers who were kind of making an order in order to publish the house in an interior magazine. So he would say, no, he changed the position of the things. So everything seemed to be kind of casual, but everything was positioned in a very, very clear way. And it was not the one you see here in the photograph. Then we found on the walls a lot of beautiful drawings. It was like another present of the house. We found that arch, Gothic arch, and the angel, and then we found these drawings which maybe were left there by some painters who were painting the ceiling. The ceiling is totally lost. We found nothing on the ceiling, but we found all the sketches they were doing when they were painting the real thing on the ceiling. So they knew that on the wall nothing would be remaining. They would repaint the walls. So most of the nicest things are here. You can see this soldier, which was for sure a kind of a witty depicting, or tries of beautiful horses, or this other drawing which is not so well done. I think there was the master and the pupil trying to imitate the master. So the drawings are there. We keep the photographs so that we can look very near, and the drawings are up there so that sometimes they look like some mistakes, but it's really some beautiful, knowledgeable drawings. And we didn't close the house. We thought that this idea that this was becoming a loft, that all the partition walls were destroyed, was a fantastic thing. So for example, when we had to make a room, we did this kind of door which were sliding so that you could close, but most of the time you could keep it open. And also when you go from one angle to the other, you have this continuity. You see the piano from a side, the piano from the other side. So here is still some pieces of the drawing that we did. This part of the house was left empty. We didn't do anything because we were waiting for our children to come. And when we realized that we were waiting for a child, we started to build not a very simple room, but this is the plan of the room. It was a kind of a very nice experiment. Maybe you cannot understand very much from this, but we were destroying the upper part of the second level of the house, and of course there were many doors, many cupboards, many wood pieces. So we decided to reuse all these wood pieces and make another labyrinth, which would become a house and define the bathroom, and sometimes define some sort of cupboards. So the photographer had difficulties also to make photos there. So we have only these little hints of how the old pieces of wood were becoming, for example, the little cupboard of the children, and also some other pieces that we found in the house, and how the new frames, the new wooden frames and new doors were mixing with the old doors. So I think doors and wooden things were the most important intervention we did in the house. We tried to do as little as possible, for sure, no partition walls, and in fact, my son still tells me, our house is horrible. Whenever it will be big, I will have a small house with a lot of rooms. Because I never had their real intimacy. It was a way of living which was very special, and was kind of saying, okay, the house is a kind of a unique thing. We go round the courtyard, and there is no interruption. Then this is one of the drawings that it was doing for defining some of the furniture, and this is by chance that I keep it, because most of the things also I was drawing or he was drawing, they are lost, because we were doing that directly, giving it to the carpenter, and the carpenter was doing the thing. So most of the plans are not archived, are not in a real file. Then Eric was always telling me, we have to make in the garden, we have to make a swimming pool. I was saying, you're too grand. How do you think that we have to make a swimming pool? So this was this kind of quarrel that you need when you're a wife and man. It's very necessary to invent something where you're opposing. And then when Eric died, I said, what do we do now? Now we have to do the swimming pool, of course. And so I started to think. It was not so easy. The garden was very special. It has a house in the back, very complicated actually. And underneath the earth, I started to dig, and really there was 5 meters of earth. So we could really have this swimming pool, and it's very elongated. But then I discovered that the best part of the swimming pool is the part in front of it. Because most of the time you don't really swim. You have the idea of swimming or the possibility of swimming. You look at the water and you stay there, maybe in the hammock or maybe in the cushions that we put on the floor. So this became covered by a new catalog vault, became the kind of the cozy room of the house. And there is a chimney, because this was in fact a house before. And there was the chimney going up, because it's an old house and it has to go at the very top. So we decided to maintain the chimney, and it was like a joke in a way. We thought we would never put fire, but actually this having fire and water is really, really impressive. And it's one of the most comfortable things of the house now. Enrique never saw that, but this was his idea to have a swimming pool. Now the swimming pool is there, but it's not only there as water, it's there as water, the earth of the garden, the fire in the fireplace, and then we did a painting which is behind here, which is a mountain. So we have everything. We have all the elements, and you really feel it. It's really fantastic. And then on top of this new vault, we have another kind of garden, which is becoming like a sort of a tropical garden, something very, very special because it's so inside that it's becoming a microclimate. So you've been around the house, and many photographers have been photographing the house. This is a photographer who was trying to do kind of collage, overlapping different images on the same negative. His name is Diego Ferrari. Well, this is not, this is yes. And I think it's kind of nice, no? It's very lovely because also it brings me moments where my child, my first girl, was together with me, and she was small, and you can see her here, and you can see how the house works in reality, where the drawings of the past, your life in the present, the little postcards, or whatever you put inside, becomes the complete reality of this architecture. So it's a very fragile place, I think, and Eric knew it, but we thought that with this experiment, we learned a lot. And we learned really how to relate with something which already exists, and how to appreciate something which already exists, and how to live together. So when someone from the city of Utrecht arrived, they had big problems, some politicians, they had a problem of how to renovate their city hall, which was a very, very old building, very complex, and very destroyed. So they arrived in our studio in Barcelona, and we brought them to the house, and we tried to convince them that it was very easy to do their town hall, because we would do exactly as we did in the house, and it would be fantastic. We would discover old things, maintain something, renovate something new, and now I think they were very courageous because they believed us. They made it, and now I see how courageous they were. And they made a competition, we won the competition, and then we had to do what we had promised, which was transforming the town hall in something similar to our house. So these are some of the beginnings of the considerations of the town hall. It's this is a model which maybe is kind of clarifying what the town hall of Utrecht is. It's a series of old houses which were built one after the other. First they were using one house, then a couple of them, then three, then they were making an extension, and at the end all of it was becoming a town hall, but totally incoherent because it was done by different houses. And this is very easy to understand because all the rest of Utrecht is that of little houses. So also the public building is a kind of putting together some little houses. And in the past they had done some new extension, like for example trying to transform this into a neoclassical building with columns, with symmetry, but they could never really do it because they were doing one facade on one side and it was not corresponding on the other facade on the other side. So it was very, very difficult to touch it. And these are some of the images of the finished building, which unluckily, very sadly, Enrique never saw because he discovered that he had a very difficult illness in March 2000. And this building was finished at the end of August 2000. So in a way, it's a sort of miracle. No? It was built without our supervision. It was a miracle that we could do some of this architecture, which were very complex, I think. No? And it is not perfect, but maybe it is a kind of responding to the spirit that we wanted to have. Actually, these are some of the drawings that Javier was also analyzing. In different times, we get something like 5 or 6 different versions of the possibility of renovating the town hall. And some of them were very demanding, with beautiful lights coming from the skylight. But then it was not so easy because there is a lot of control by the history department, people who don't let you touch this or that, or give you the order to maintain a certain color. So all this transformation, I think it's very courageous and very special in a place like the north of Europe, in Holland. And I think it became kind of a very reference piece, even if it's so imperfect respect to what it would have been, or what we wanted it to be, or what Eric was dreaming for it. These are many images taken also from a small film we have done for the City Hall, and we can go very fast as in a sort of film, looking at the pieces. I think this place is very beautiful. No? The old city of Utrecht is a city of water, like most of Holland, really fantastic, really special, and it's very inspiring. And we were kind of imagining this city hall opening up. In fact, it was closed now. It had a new building closing it, and the idea was to make a little destruction, not too much, but to destroy, for example, the building built in the 30s, in order to make the public space really enter the building and give really a new entry by making a new piazza. You have to imagine that this space was occupied by a big building which was really covering everything. But this became, let's say, the difficult part was that the inside of the courtyards became the facade. So that this humble architecture, this architecture where you see all the defects, where you understand that it was a series of houses and not a neoclassical building, is becoming the facade. So we wanted that, and also we were kind of taking as a collage pieces of the building that we had destroyed and put it back into the new building that we were rebuilding, like inside and outside existing pieces. So this is a little the what you see now, no? Something very fragmented, something which in a way I like very much, which looks like a very romantic thing, something which is an old ruin. It could be a Roman ruin, but in fact it is something that which is just built, something open in year 2000. And nature is also acting together with history, because here, for example, water, which is so frequent in Holland, is becoming a fountain, and is becoming really the kind of animation of the new space which was obtained by destroying the old building of the 30s. New benches were positions, and also we designed the pavimentation, which is a little similar to the pavimentation you have seen in our house, no? With a kind of little carpets, big pop carpets, giving you the welcome to the entry door. So you have thousands of images here. I didn't have the time to make the organization. Here you see very clearly how the old facades are going together with the new construction, the new building, and also sometimes it's a kind of humorous, you know, how you show this like Cinecittà, no? Like Hollywood, But also, if we go back, it's very nice to see that you have this all over the old city. This is the old dome, and this is the fake neoclassic, and this is something that we have designed in the year 2000, and this is a facade which is probably of 200 years ago. So this is a real great collage, a collage of architecture. So we go fast. This new stair was very important because it's really the place which is telling everybody here is the new entry. It's not very easy because you have the neoclassical entry door, which is really making it very clear that it is the most important part. So we try to be humble, but at the same time we try to indicate that there was a new door. And this old door was occupied by a little bow window, which was the restaurant table, so that you could have this. The door was not used as a door anymore, but you could have this kind of looking out. These moments of the architecture, and you see very well how the big central room is very visible in double height, and this going around with the distance was one of the main important ideas in order to give importance to this old central room, which is now very destroyed. And also you can see how everything was destroyed. This is the place where the Rathaus, the Ratssaal, where they take decisions. And here you see all the beams, all the bricks, all the different layers, and not very well done, but everything is totally on view and becomes the new decoration, the new scenery of the town hall. So you're seeing a lot of images. I'm so sorry. Now we go fast on our beautiful film, which is animated by me. This is the place where you can get married if you are very young and very nice, because this is decorated by a good Dutch artist. And this, if you are more classic, is the place where you get married, because it was done in the 50s by a good Dutch architect. And we maintain most of the things. Now they are asking us to redo something. And what we did was going back mainly on Javier thesis and look at the documents and rediscovering a lot of things. These are the writings. Also, it was a moment for me to have 2 children. So my children were very small, and most of the things that Eric was thinking in trips for this building, I knew, but not so directly. So now it's a time for me to rediscover. It's very, very impressive, to look back at these sketches, to re-understand how it was the idea of maintaining the idea of the many houses and a room inside it, and how the organization is very clear. Public and political views, civil servants. So in a way, this was a kind of a clear idea. How the piazza has to enter into the building. Thousands of sketches. These were mainly done on the house, on the table you have seen in that decorated room. During the weekends, when I was with the small children, I was saying, please, let's go and have a walk. No, I cannot. I have to redraw Utrecht, and he was always redrawing Utrecht. We have I don't know how many versions of it, and sometimes I was telling him, it's beautiful already. No, it's not beautiful. We have to redo it. So okay, so thousands of beautiful drawings that luckily, I don't know if we still have it, or we are just having it in your thesis. I don't know, but. It's really fantastic to look at them. I think Eric was incredible in drawing. incredible. He was giving such an importance to these lines and curves and inclination and the relationship of things one to the other. So whenever you look at these drawings, you understand nothing. When you start to understand, because you put it on top of another plan, you see that they are incredibly precise. And this is something that everybody in the office who had been working with them had the possibility to discover. And we have to discover this again. And this is a little the history of the place, no? The history that I've already told you. The many houses, and then the different moments in history, how the city hall was transforming, how they were trying to make it kind of neoclassic. One day they even thought to redo it completely and make it like a building of the 30s. Luckily they were not able to do it. And then in the competition, how we started to explain how this was the main room and then the Ratsal, and this was the place for the civil servants to stay, and the different layers, and the many moments, the transformation of it. We also have all the models. I didn't have the time to put the different versions together with the models, and the models are enormous, are very, very big. They're like, let's say, how do you say, doll houses. You can open them and put your little dolls. And this is starting to become more similar to the final version. You see how it is important not to have the straight corridors, but to try to have a corridor which is surprising, and letting the light come in and making kind of a special game. And now I'm understanding how this transformation was for Enrique really like making a lamp, like a building which was a lamp in itself. I think the light was so important, and what he was trying to do was to make a kind of a lantern where light was playing in a different way in the old walls, in the different layers, and things like that. It partially worked, but not completely. So now we have all these drawings to study, to go back, to propose to the client, and to finish in a way the drawings and the project in order to have a more completely what was the original idea of the building in the city hall. So I don't know, I have no idea how much time I have used. What do you think of? Yeah? Now I use 1 hour?
Yeah.
So now we're finishing. Well, let's go like a film. This is a studio, and you're not surprised to see, I think, the studio a little like this. It's very similar to the house. It's an old building in the old city, and it's full of models and people and transformation. And this is underneath the office. We have a lot of boxes, which are the boxes of our models. And here now we are also having activities. So this is transformed into a place called the Enrique Miralles Foundation. So we can have also exhibitions, and we can have lectures, we can have interchanges and things like that. Then going fast. Very fast. Oh my God! I thought my God, because I cut it, but probably it was not saved, so it's not cut it. Then here is Santa Caterina. You maybe know this project, but this project was also a project that we said, oh yes, we'll make it exactly like our house. It's a few meters from our house. It was our market, but it was a little more complex. You see, underneath it. It was this archaeological place corresponding to the monastery which was here. And we had to relate it to the city, we had to relate it to the urbanism of the city, so it was not easy. let's see if I go to a kind of a more, you see, this was more or less the idea of bringing in the city the interior of the market. Thousands of many. This is more or less the work that we have done on the roof with ceramic and many drawings about how the wooden pieces would work. I swear that I cut it, but it was not cut it. So this was as it was at the beginning, and then it got transformed into something more luminous and colorful, which I think gave a lot of light to the city. So this became a project which we love very much. Is a place where we go and buy our food and our products. It's our market. So it's really something that we have done with a little egoistic spirit. What else? I couldn't cut it, so I don't know how many images you have. Let's see if the next. Oh no, this is Utrecht again. Okay, this means that we have to finish here. What do you think? Okay. So next time I will tell you all the rest that I prepared, but I think this is enough. Thank you for your attention. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for this lecture full of information and energy. Now we have time for questions and answers. Actually, I would like to make the first question. I have really enjoyed actually this trip from your house to Utrecht. I think it's I think both projects are really very well connected. I think it's very, in a way, interesting, like the narrative conditions, the process of making and building the house, and also like in terms of how you think the project. You go from the entrance, which has the table has the size of the room, and you go to the bedroom, to the toilet, to the garden, to the stripes, the shelf, the tiles, the angel, the drawings in the wall. There is really an accumulation of information that is kind of overlapped to your own life, to the way you inhabit and you share the space. And then from there you make this kind of mental trip and physical trip to Utrecht, and then you project the many experiences you have accumulated in your own house to a kind of space, which is a public space. And in a way you find another way to construct another narrative. But then, for me, like the question would be like, how do you, because that belongs in a way to a way of making which is also, like, let's say, very traditional. Like architecture was always done in slow time, as an accumulation of things and needs and the interaction with clients and everyday life. But nowadays, that everything is really kind of accelerated, and especially with the architecture competitions, that sometimes you don't really have like the time to really get to know places, or to know the people, or to know like the context. How do you deal with contemporary projects in other contexts, like, for example, China, or and also with this lack of time, for competitions?
It's a good question, but in a way, I think it's important to have this kind of experience in making something directly. Let's say with the artisans, calling the artisans, say, listen, can you make me this cupboard, please? How do you want it? Like this, and you do it in a kind of well, of course, you draw it in half an hour or something like that. So it's kind of interesting, because you then know that most of our work as architects is sometimes to transmit the information. And it can become very complicated because we are a lot of people, and sometimes we are also different people. You talk with the Chinese, sometimes they understand more, no? But it's really a question of knowing which language to choose. and try to choose the quickest, most efficient, and best one. For example, in the Scottish Parliament, which is also another of these projects that we say, oh, we will do it more or less like our house. Well, no. And it was very complicated, and there really I understood how sometimes most of the documentation we're doing is illegal documentation. Yeah. In order to be sure that you will not be accused. And in the Scottish Parliament, we were accused in a way. Everybody was accused because it was a very political project. So you really needed to have this incredible amount of documentation to defend yourself, not to do it. So sometimes I'm very clear that we are doing documentation to defend ourselves. And if you want to build something, maybe with a sketch.
Maybe before we go for the next questions, I will also allow myself to make the second question. Because it's a really nice opportunity also. You know, when we talked about Utrecht, actually it was not preview that we talked about my pieces, I didn't write down for it. But for me, it was also like when doing the thesis, when you get the opportunity of having access to all the material in the studio, it was also kind of a way of establishing a personal conversation in a way with someone I have never met personally. So that, because actually for that chapter, I spent around like 6 months really working on that and trying to decipher like the sequence of work, in a way, because everything is quite well organized in the studio. But sometimes I say that some papers were misplaced, so I just trying to reconstruct the chronology, the way of working with the drawings, and which one was the first and which one the last one. Took me a while. And also, like as you said, I mean, it's a project that had like something like 6 different versions, and sometimes each of them was, you could say that it was pretty finished in a way, it was pretty complete. So always also like trying to understand like what was wrong in this version, so that it had to be restarted again. And sometimes it was like only like a little corner, like maybe the elevator changed its position on the program, and then from there you realize that the whole project starts kind of being reshaped again. But then that reminds me in a way like this kind of conversations through all time, like Asplund when he did Hot Book, for example, he spent around like 30 years working on the project, and then throughout the process he really changed as an architect. So the project he did for the competition from the project that was finally built changed a lot because he changed as an architect. So now for you it's really also like now you have also involved, you have a different position on architecture. So this kind of dialogue in time, how do you take it with this kind of opportunity to do a second intervention in the camp? What do you consider that have changed your kind of position towards the
I don't know, no, in a way, it's now we have to work on the city hall, and now it's nearly 20 years after.
Yeah.
So we have discovered a lot of things, and there are many other things in the air that maybe I need to know. For example, the rig were never in China. I was never in China, and now I'm in China, and I have this incredible experience of being in contact with another country and understanding a lot of new things. There are new materials experimented. So now, for example, in the studio, we are really looking at all the old drawings, but the clients, they would like to have something more new. You know, they are new civil servants, usually they're very young.
Yeah.
So they would like to have something which is making them happy. So I tell to the team, say, oh yes, we have to study everything, we have to find out what was the piece of furniture which we are going to build, but you know what, we also have to invent, to do something new. So maybe I think this is kind of very necessary, you know, to make Also, the foundation we did for Enrique is not a kind of a foundation which is only remembering and only going in the archive, but mixing this together with life, with new architecture, young generations, and I think it's the only way. I think. We are doing something very new now. We have a lot of small things very new, and you will see the Biennale. The Biennale, we are invited. We are trying to do a kind of textile architecture, not totally textile, something which is an architecture coming from the idea of weaving. And I don't know, in Milan now we presented a lamp, which I wanted to show here. We have a new lamp we just designed. We've done many small things in the last years, something like between furniture and architecture. So if you come to the Biennale, you are invited to see.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, thanks a lot, Benedetta. It's been really, really interesting.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.